Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. We were discussing the cause and effect theory to establish Ajadavada. So what we know from cause and effect theory is, once the cause is known completely, there is no existence of the effect. That is the total development of the cause and effect theory. So now here in Vedanta, the cause is Sat, Chit and Ananda. That is Satchidananda. So we say ultimate cause because there are so-called intermediate causes which we depend for the development, for the manifestation of the effect. The ultimate cause here is Satchidananda. So what we know from the cause and effect theory is, if the ultimate cause is known, experienced, then there cannot be any separate manifestation, development, other than the cause itself. That is the Brahman Atma. Now here the question arises is, then why there is so many diversities and why we are unable to know the ultimate reality in that level? In Vedanta, this cause and effect theory is little bit modified, or we can say changed into different method of understanding. Normally, the theory says if the cause is known, the effect is no more. It means you will see the effect. The perceiving will be there. Last time also we mentioned this point because it is very important to know. Even after knowing the cause, the shape and the manifestation of effect seems to be real. Therefore, Vedanta brings here another methodology to understand the cause and effect theory itself. So when we see the cause, we can say there is no effect created. When we see the cause, we can again say there is nothing but cause. This is true. But the perception says, the experiment says something else. The experiments oppose the theory what we learn. So this is the difficulty here to really experience and declare that only cause exists. Therefore, we will bring something more here to establish. So you know that there are different causes, as we say, material cause and ultimate cause and efficient cause. So we discussed this point last session. The efficient cause and the material cause, it changes its character when we go to another level of understanding. So, another level of understanding, there is no separation as such. There is no need to separate. But to understand the cause and effect theory, we follow this methodology. Otherwise, we are unable to establish the methodology, establish the theory. To establish the theory, you need to follow a certain sequence, certain level of sequence, one after another. Then only you can grasp the thing is discussed. Therefore, we bring all this efficient cause and material cause and things like that. So now we will take the special theory of understanding of this cause and effect. You know this. There are three kinds of existence, reality. So one is called ultimate reality, Paramartha Satta, or otherwise we can say ultimate existence. And in second, we call it Vyavahara Satta, the empirical level of existence, empirical level of reality. And then comes Pradibhasika Satta. It means illusory reality, illusory existence. Now, this is a special theory of Vedanta. The cause and effect theory is used everywhere. Even in science it is there. Because science, all physics is based on that. But this special theory is not used. Now you can see the wonder here, because we last time we discussed this point of Parinama and Vivarta. The Parinama is manifestation theory and Vivarta is superimposed manifestation theory. It means there is no actual manifestation, but the effect is seen or experienced. Again, the experience brings the reality there. Because when we get any kind of experience, we won't see the reality of the object from where it is, where the experience appears. Where we get the experience. We see the experience and declare it is there. As in the famous example, when you see the snake there, we won't think about is it snake or not. No. The snake is seen, the experience is there. You have fear, you are trembling, you are all the problems. But really snake is not there. So this is the effect of superimposed manifestation theory, Vivarta. So now we connect these three kind of existence realities into the cause and effect theory, then you will get the complete form of Vedantic understanding of cause and effect and uncreation, no, Ajadavada. Nothing is created. Now, first we take the definition of manifestation theory. The manifestation which we say as Parinamavada. So there we bring these realities, existence. So the manifestation theory says, Sama Sattaga Karya Nishpatti. Sama Sattaga Karya Nishpatti. The Karya Nishpatti means manifestation of effect, the product. Parinama means, the manifestation theory means where you see the manifested effect into the same reality, Samasattaka, same existence. For example, to illustrate it, you see the pot. So pot is a perceivable reality. It means empirical reality, what we say Vyavahara Satta. Why? Because we can use the pot, we can touch the pot, taste the pot, everything is there. All the sense organs can work there and give the reality. To perceive it and experience. So it is, we call it as Vyavahara Satta. Now, the cause of that pot is mud, clay. Now, clay is also in the same reality. Because clay is also perceived as the pot is perceived. Now we see, Samasatta, both are in same Satta. In spite of that knowledge, we again ask the question, then why this clay changed into pot? We know that they are in same Satta. We are trying to know it in that way. Now you see, the problem with this question. Now, if it is in same Satta, because all the Vedantic students ask this question, you know that. So, if it is in same Satta, why we say it is a product and it is a cause and all this? The question can come. There, the clay is also Vyavahara Satta and the pot is also Vyavahara Satta. What is Vyavahara? The changes, what changes are there? Only we can see the changes as the names and form. The clay was in different shape and different name. It was known by different name. Now, after the manifestation, so-called manifestation, it changed into a different form. Previously it was used for something else, and now it is used for some other purpose. And when it changed the form, we call it as an effect. But it changed its form. We believe in that it changed its form. So this is Nama and Rupa. So these both are in same Satta. So there is no problem of perceiving it, understanding it. We can easily know it, how it happened. Now, This is called Parinama Siddhanta. Parinamavada, manifestation theory. Manifestation means we call it insane satta. Now we take the other one, that is Vivartavada. So Vivartavada, we say it is not real manifestation, unreal manifestation. Instead of saying unreal, we say superimposed manifestation. A superimposed theory of cause and effect. There the definition comes. Vishama sattaga karya nishpattihi. It means the product is not in the same reality as the cause is. The product is in different reality, different existence, and cause is in different existence. This is what we need here. Now, for example, we take the famous example because it is easy to elaborate, otherwise you have to say something more regarding that. So we take the snake and the rope. You see, the snake is in Vyavahara Satta, what we see, but it is not. When we see, it is in Vyavahara Satta. But when we try to understand what snake is, the theory when applied, it says the Rajju is in Vyavahara Satta, the rope is in Vyavahara Satta. Why? Because you can touch the rope. Because rope is a product of earth. It's an earthly product. So whatever qualities the earth has, we can experience all those qualities in that rock. Like there will be touch, there will be smell, and sound, taste. These all are there. So therefore, this Raju, the rope, is called Vyavahara Satta. There is no doubt. So on that rope, as a substratum of this, because here instead of using cause, it is more clear that we use substratum, the base for that. Then the snake comes. The snake which is superimposed. It is superimposed reality. Because we can't touch the snake which is seen there, and we cannot kill the snake which is seen there. It is mental. It cannot be perceived as it should be perceived. Why? The snake also a product of earth. The body of the snake is an earthly product as our bodies. So therefore, as we see the rope, the snake should be seen there with all these sense organs. But it is not possible. Therefore, we see it, but the object is not perceived directly. The perceivability changed there. But the cognition is there. Now you see the difference. The perceivability is not there, but the cognition is there. Like in the dream. Whatever we see in the dream, we perceive it, we have a cognition, we have a thought on that. But nothing is perceived directly. So the perception changed there. We have to add some adjective to that perceivability. The perception changed now. We can't say it is a real perception as we see the things outside. So that is dreamily perception. We can add an adjective there. It's a special perception which we can only be experienced in the dream. Am I right? So now, the same thing you bring here to try to understand the cause and effect connection in the rope and the snake. Here the rope is Vyavahara Satta and the snake is Pradibhasika Satta. It means illusory reality, illusory cognition. The cognition based on illusion. So now you see the difference. The Satta changed. We won't say there is no cognition. If you say this is wrong with Vedanta. The cognition is always there. Why? After sometimes you again remember what had happened there. Your memory is very clear. Therefore, we must admit that there was a cognition. So we remember it. Because without cognition, you can't remember anything. If memory is there, definitely there is a cognition. So here, the Satta changed. Therefore, it is called Vivarta theory of manifestation. Now we have to say there was some development, some manifestation, something happened. What has happened? This is the theory we applied. Now we bring it to the cause and effect connection of Brahman and the creation here, Jagat. Now what we experienced is, whatever we experience outside with the cause and effect theory is all manifested one. It means they are based on intermediate causes, not ultimate cause. Therefore, we have to shift into ultimate cause when we talk about the Jagat, the creation, and the ultimate cause as Brahman. You understand that? Because we can't talk with the intermediate causes. Now, the normal causes are not there. We are talking about the cause of all causes. So therefore it is ultimate cause. It should be ultimate cause. Now this ultimate cause is called Paramartha Satta. The ultimate reality, ultimate existence. Based on that, this is manifested. Now we will, before entering to this main point, we'll just bring one special point from what we have already discussed. That is, in the clay and pot theory, when we see clay as the cause, the pot has no separate reality. It means it is not an effect. Similarly, in the second one, when we see the rope, the reality of rope there is no manifestation or no existence of snake. The snake has gone. You know that there is no snake. It is completely disappeared. But even then, the effect of what the snake, when after the perception of snake or what had happened, has some effect, some long time effect in you, that the shivering may continue for some time and so. But it says, when you know the substractum there is no effect. There is no manifestation. Even we can say there is no superimposition. Now there is no superimposition because the substractum is seen. So what is embossed is gone. So both the example says, when you know the cause, the effect is gone. When you know the substractum, the effect is not there. That is what it says. So there also we can say, there is no manifestation as such, if the cause is known. Again, the theory is re-established here. But we changed the cause and effect theory into the satta theory, the existence theory, samasatta and vishamasatta. That is vivarta. Now we take the main point. The Brahman is the ultimate cause of Vedanta. And that is ultimate because all the effects, what we perceive, what we see, is the effect of that, is based on that. Now, therefore, that is Paramartha Satta. That is Paramartha Satta. And what we see is not Paramartha Satta. Because Paramartha, because it is changing. Therefore, it cannot be Paramartha. And we can say it is Vyavahara, otherwise Pradibhasika, superimposed, all those things we can say. Here, by some means, some sadhana, if we are able to know the existence, the purest existence form of that reality, certainly the thought process will change. As when we saw the reality of rope, the thought process changed. When we know the reality of clay, the thought process changed. Similarly, here also, if we came to know the purest form, the ultimate form of that reality, the thought process will totally change and make these seen objects unreal and say this is illusion, this is unreal. Not only by seeing this you can declare that it is unreal, but only by knowing you can say this is unreal. Knowing the cause. This is the connection. Now you see how beautifully it is connected. And it is a scientific method that if you take the correct procedure, you will land in right place. It is very, now you can, in that level, it is a profound level of thought. You can't go beyond that. It is ultimate. So now, here we call the Brahman as ultimate reality as well as the substractum of all existence. In other words, the Brahman is equal to existence itself. Why? Because there is no other existence which is supported by. Brahman is the ultimate existence. That is why we say ultimate. Now, this is what it says, Sadohi Mayaya Janma. Last time also we took this point, because this is the Sutra Vakya to establish the Ajadavada in Mandukya Karya. Sadohi mayaya janma yujyade nadu tattvataha. So sataha, sat is here existence. If we want to talk about the manifestation based on the pure existence, you can only talk about illusion or the superimposed theory of manifestation. No other way to say the real manifestation there. You got the point? So this is what na tattvadaha. The really, if you want to talk about manifestation, it is impossible. Therefore we say aja. Edattaduttamam satyam yatra kinchit na jayate. This is the declaration of the statement of Karika. Edattaduttamam satyam. That is the ultimate truth. Where there is no manifestation. Edattaduttamam satyam yatra kinchit na jayate. That is Ajadavada. Now, to just round up this theory, they apply a logic there. Why this is called illusory? Why this is not a creation? It says, Adau andecha yannasti vartamanecha tattatha. It says you simply analyze the object. Was it there before? Will that be there after? You just analyze it. If it was not before and is not going to be after, only it is seen in present. Adau andecha ed nasti. Then how can a intelligent person can say this exists? Because it was not there before and it is not thereafter. So, vartamanecha tattatha. Therefore we say, if you say that it was not there, you are using the negation. It was not there. And again in the future also you are using the same negation. It will be not there. So then the negation comes in between also, because in between how can be it is there? How can you say it is there? If you are talking about the same object, it cannot change form. So therefore apply this and try to understand. So we have this problem of seeing the past and future. We have no use of that. People ask why we want to go to the past, why we want to go to the future. There is no meaning. We need the present. You see? If you are not ready to take this point into consideration and understand your thought process, then this is meaningless. Then why we talk about all these theories? What is the real benefit of this theory? We can't see anything there. So this is what normally we think. People say this. Therefore, we are used to the present scenery. We are used to the present experiences and perceptions. We are used when we say, it means our mind is tempted to do that. It has the tendency, it created the tendency very strongly to know the objects at present. Because it is giving the effect, no? It is giving the emotional experiences. Joy and sorrow and all those kind of experiences. Therefore it is real. where there the experience is gone, what is about that? So in this state, we bring the Sat there. Now we go to the next step. Now we have established that when the cause is known by nature, the effect cannot exist separate from that. Therefore, we can say the cause and effect theory. Last time we discussed. The effect cannot exist without cause. Effect is nothing but cause. But the cause is different from the effect. Cause is always different from effect. Why? When there was no product, there was no effect, the cause existed itself. When product came, still cause was there, cause was existing. And when we demolish or we destroy the effect, again the cause is going to exist. The demolition of that effect is on cause only. You can demolish, you can destroy the effect without the support of cause. When we destroy the pot, break the pot, the mud exists. Only if the mud exists, you can break the pot. Otherwise, no. Even the process of destroying is also based on cause. You see how wonder it is. If you really understand this cause and effect theory, you have understood all the Vedanta very well, and you can go any extent to that. This is the fundamental theory of establishment. It's very interesting. You see, you can bring here manifestation theory of science and other theories. You can bring the superimposed illusory theory here. You can bring the non-creation theory as Ajadavada too. And without this theory, you can't establish any of this theory very well. You can just grab a couple of words and make some thought process, that's all. That's gone. But once it is experienced by this way, and it is, you believe me, that if you go with this very sincerely, you will experience the existence of Atman directly. There is no doubt. So now we will bring that point into this. So now what we got the point here is, the existence is Brahman, or Brahman is existence, that is Sat. So this Sat Brahman is giving, we can say transmitting the existence to Vyavahara Satta and Pradibhasika Satta. Obviously, we have to say, if the same Paramartha Satta, the ultimate reality, is transmitting its existence to the Vyavahara Satta and the Pradibhasika Satta, means the Vyavahara Satta is also based on that ultimate reality, so it is also Brahman. And the so-called Pradibhasika Satta is also based on that reality, so that is also Brahman. You have to say that. Logic says that. When we apply this logic there. Now, how this Satta, the existence, is transmitted? What is the procedure there? What is the process there? Then it says, there is no process. You don't try to know some process, some procedure, some theory there, how the pure assistant Atma is transmitting or transforming itself into the assistance of others. You don't try to know that. The existence itself, the appearance of Atma itself formed into another form. Like the existence of rope itself is seen in other ways. Seen other ways as snake and sword. What is the role of rope there? Is rope is doing something there? Some action is there in the rope? No. Rope is still there. It is very, very steady, still there. No manifestation, no action is there to form the snake in the point of view of rope. What we can say? Similarly, here also, if the Atma is existence, from that point of view, there is no theory you can apply there. Only it exists in its form. Therefore, na nirodha, na utpattihi, na baddho, na cha sadhakaha, na mumukshuhu, na vaimuktaha, ityesha paramarthada. Whatever you adjunct there, whatever you apply there, is all false. Kalpayatyatmanatmanam atma deva swamayaya. This is the answer to that question. Kalpayati atmana atmanam. The Atma, the self, himself, appear into many forms because because the reality as self has a special quality to appear in different forms. What is that quality? Even that quality is the existence itself. If we want to say some quality there, that quality is called Maya. That Shakti, the power to establish many forms. Now, like the rope, no? Rope has the existence there, and rope has a special shape, very similar to snake. It is the nature of rope. Nothing special there. But that causes for the appearing of snake. So you want to say it is a special quality of rope which is causing the effect there. You want to say, you can say it. But there is no meaning to say that. Why? We can't see or establish the difference between the rope and the special quality. You cannot differentiate. Because the rope itself is cause there. Rope itself is a special quality there. So here also, if you want to say, we can say the Atma kalpayati atmana atmanam. Atma itself manifests itself into the form of many by the power of Maya. And what is Maya? Swamaya. Which is its own power. Here we bring some story there to make that. That's all. This is a story. And why we bring this story there? It's a spiritual means. It is a means, it is a upaya to know the reality. Otherwise, in Vedanta, there is no point of discussing this creation theory. This creation theory is a sadhana, it is a method of manana to bring into the mind the reality, the existence of Atma. It is a method used. Upaya sovataraya. If you want to know something, you need a theory to talk about that. Some words you have to use. That should be in sequence and interconnected. The words should bring a meaning there. Similarly, we bring all this theory of creation by Vedanta. It is there in Vedanta, in Upanishads. When we study Brahma Sutras, all these points are discussed there very well. In the second chapter, third and fourth pada, when we see, so all these forms are discussed. And there is a adhikaranam called, the portion called Anumanika adhikaranam, Arambhana adhikaranam. So here it is discussed. And in Mandukya Karika, where the Ajadavada is there, the Karika says, Mriloga vispulingadjai srishtirya chodidanyatha Upayasovataraya nasti bheda kathanjana. You don't stuck with this theory of creation. It's all upayas. You don't argue with this creation theory. The argument should be to know the reality of the creation. What is the reality of the creation? So, Mril, Loha, Vispulingadhyai. There are so many examples which elaborate all this theory of creation. All these are used as a means to elaborate. So, this is called Adhyaropa Avavada theory. We superimpose something to establish something. So we superimpose this theory of creation. Now Vedanta superimposes the theory of creation to bring the reality into your mind. Because after that you will say, oh, I got it. So this cause, only the cause exists. The cause is everything. Now, what we find as ultimate cause, that is Brahman, that is existence. So we will just discuss the nature of Brahman and how that is experienced in Vyavahara, in all the objects. Because last time also I quoted this Bhashyakara's verse. He says, Anaveditetu Brahmani. O student, O seeker, if you want to know this creation as Brahman, as the reality of the creation, try to know the ultimate cause of the creation. Don't think nothing else. If you just say this illusion is Maya, illusion theory, no, nothing is there. Nothing is going to work. You apply your mind to the fundamental theory of creation. The usage of theory. Theory is not for the sake of theory here now. Because with this theory we have no benefit as such. It is said, na srishtyadi prapanchaha pradipipadayishitaha. Bhashyakara says, srishtyadi prapanchaha na pradipipadayishitaha. Na tatkritaha kaschid purushartho drishyate suyadeva. Na kaschid purushartha drishyate suyadeva. There is no meaning, there is no benefit that we get from this knowing all this creation theory. It is Srishtyadi Prapancha Pravita. Therefore, this is not the intention With the intention we establish this theory. There is no intention to establish this theory. So what is the intention? Intention is to bring that reality into the minds of the seekers. So therefore, we should know the nature of reality. Now how we can know that? So we take first point as existence. It is something very nice. That how we feel the existence. How we can prove the existence. We say this wood exists. This cloth exists. This creation exists. And my body exists. I exist. Now you just apply your thoughts. What is this existence all about? How we state that this exists? What is the proof? We can say that because I see it, I am touching it, so it exists, it should exist. But what you are seeing is already proof that is not real because it is changing its form. What you have seen just a second before, it changed its form into other. So there is no real form of seen there, the object. This we know from science too. They say every moment, the time we can't imagine, it is changing. The atoms are moving on, changing on. So now what you have seen is real. How can you say this exists? Because what you have seen has no existence at all. You are comparing it. So you are comparing the similarity, the form what you see as similar, but it is not similar, it is not the same. It changes its form. So now, if this has no existence, because our existence should be real. Real in the sense it should be the same in all conditions. It should be the same in all the times. With all the objects of the experiences what we have so far. Is there something that you can see which is not changing ever? Which is not giving any different effect? Can you see anything like to say that this is existence? This is my existence. We can't find anything in this creation. Now, how can we prove this existence is there? Because that should be untouched by change. Whatever we bring as the characteristics of existence or the experience of existence should be untouched with change. Even we can't imagine change there. So then only we can say this is existence. This is the real existence. Now, if you take the existence of this table, it's based on the existence of the wood, and the wood is based on some other existence. It goes on like that. No end to that. You can see. Therefore, our great rishis, they have done a tapasya on this. The tapasya for knowledge, tapasya for, to experience this. And they brought their experience into the form of Vedanta. They said, if you want to know the reality, the ultimate existence of this creation, you have to see your own self. Because you are the one who is not changed. You are the one who is untouched with all these changes. Believe in that and try to look. And how we can apply this? This is discussed in Vedanta. Although our body changes, mind changes, intellect changes, our attitude changes, but we won't feel any change as such. We never say, I was something else before. Now I change it into a different person, different personality. Personality can change because personality is connected to the mind. But the person never changes. And this is unconditioned. This changeless is unconditioned. Because you can't bring any condition there. You cannot say, oh, I was there because of this reason, and now I am here because of this reason, and this, that. You cannot bring anything there. Because you feel, I was there, and I am here too, the same person, I am not different. I was the same in the childhood, in teenage, and youth. I feel the same. I was there in the dream, I was there in the deep sleep, I am here too. So this is the core resistance. And this every day we experience this in deep sleep. Therefore, Upanishad give this instance of this experience in deep sleep. When we go to this sleep, we forget our body, mind, all the conditions, all the adjunct and all the, added things, ego. Even with the ego it is gone. You won't even remember that you are a human being. So then, who is there? Who are you? If you are not this body, you are not a human being there. Because after that, when we ask ourselves, what we experienced there, we feel nothing. There was nothing. But the experience was there. I was there. I was sleeping. I was having a good sleep, sound sleep, dreamless sleep. So you feel fresh after that. So who feels that? It means the feeler, the experiencer is there. But we are unable to say something about it. So that is the experience of Jnani. Jnani identifies himself with that experience. Oh, I am that. Now who is this then? These two me. The same person. But here I experience some other objects too with all this my sense organs. Therefore, sometimes I feel separated from that. And people say, I am not that. And this outside experiences for a long time, it become impressions in the mind, strong impressions in the mind. The subtlest form of impression, samskaras, what we say. Then vasanas. So it continues, like very freely it continued. Therefore, we add all other things with this. But one who at least got a glimpse of that experience, which was there in the deep sleep, he will not say, I am so and so with that strength. He can't say. You see how wonder it is. So this is the existence. Now the Rishi says, the Veda says, the Atma which you experienced there is manifested into form of this creation too. It is the same. Atmataha akashaha atmataha asha atmataha atmevaidagum sarvam. You see, first you know the Atma, you take the Koham theory or Who am I theory, whatever, and enter into that level of understanding, that level of existence, and try, then know it. So you know it, you know everything. Why? Because the same existence is there here too. You pursue that. You follow that. Because the taste is the same. Therefore, there is no second effort, action to bring the existence here. Because you feel the existence as same as here, as same as there. The same. No contradiction, no conflict. Why? Because that was thoughtlessness. Where there is no thought, there the contradiction, conflicts cannot exist. You know that. And here too, these thoughts are reflections of that. When we change the thoughts, the ingredients of thoughts, the objects and all vasanas and everything, desires, thought. When we separate it, keep separate, then what exists is that existence. So that remains everywhere the same. Therefore, there is no need to bring it over here. If you try to bring it, you are doing wrong. People say, you practice samadhi, then you will feel everything. Yeah, it is a method of sadhana. That is true. But if you are bringing it, you are making it, you are modifying it, it cannot be the reality. It cannot be the reality. And here, you are unable to modify it. You see? You can't modify your deep sleep experience. Nobody can modify it. So it is unmodified. That is why I say it is untouched with change. Unimaginable. You can't imagine any change there. The changelessness is the nature of Brahman, Atma. You see? That is the changelessness. And you can't make any change. If you can make any change, there is some chance of change. That is not reality. That is what it says. This is the first character of Brahman as Sat. You got it? Now you see, if you got that reality is some taste of that, how can you say this is different from that? How can you say this is something which is different from me? You can't say. So this is how Vedanta connect the theory of creation and take you into the profound experience of Ajada. Now who is created, what is created, and how can you add the creation theory into the existence of experience there in the deep sleep? How can you add that there? So let the mind work, let the mind bring all the thoughts, Let it enjoy or feel pain or feel sorrow or let it be there. Anything, whatever it happens, it happens. If you want to change, you can change it. You can try to change it. It's possible because it is changeable. But this is not changeable. Now, when we say about this experiential existence, there the second question comes. If I don't have thought there, who is knowing this? Who is remembering this? As the experience, this thought can come. Then the Vedanta says that Sat is with consciousness. We don't say it is with consciousness because the word consciousness is not very correct to the nature of Atman. The consciousness word itself is wrong. Because when we use the consciousness word in English, it is connected to thought process. So inert objects has no thoughts, so it is inert. That is why the inertion, but whatever say, I don't know that they say it. And we know that we are not inert in deep sleep. Although we don't have thoughts, we don't have any action. But we never feel, nobody can say that I was inert in my deep sleep. Can anybody say that? No. And if you say that, it means you died there. If you say, I was inert in deep sleep, it means you died there. You have no existence. And nobody feels that yesterday I had a good sleep, I died in that sleep. Nobody say, I am dead. So now I again born. So what does it mean? So you are the proof and you are the experience and you are the consciousness, if we can use that word. Because you know it. The consciousness is knowledge itself. The knower itself. There is no difference of knowing it. And this wonderful experience, all are having the same experience without any difference. Therefore, there is no communication with that. You cannot communicate the experience of deep sleep. Can we? No. We can only say, I had a good sleep, very, very sound sleep. Other than this, nothing is there. Other than this, nothing is need to say. You see, I will bring one more point into this. When you talk with people, how can we experience this? How we have the experience daily, you can bring this. Because once you know this, only the Advaitam, non-duality exists. Non-duality is the reality you can declare with this experience. That I will bring that point there. Now, this existence which we feel as absence of non-existence. Actually, I don't want to go to more technical things. Even then, sometimes we have to use. Why I say? Because to prove the existence, we have no thought process. But we know we had not experienced the absence of existence. You got it? So obviously, what you have experienced without thought, therefore we can't say it is consciousness. Because consciousness needs some type of thought there. We say this experience is the purest form or the potential state of consciousness. Potential state of consciousness is not consciousness, but the potential state of consciousness. Because consciousness, when we use in English, we need to bring some thought process there. You have to say something about it. Like, I experienced something, I am unable to say something, what does it mean? When you say, I don't know, you have to say something about why you don't know. When I say, I know, you have to say something about it. But here, it is the potentiality of consciousness. The potency of consciousness, or whatever it is. So now you see, the experience, the existence of experience is the potentiality of consciousness. Why, if there is no consciousness, we can't say our existence. We can feel our existence. Therefore, these two are essentially, inseparatably interconnected. To say that, we can say these two are one and the same. One and the same as the existence itself. To know the existence, you need the potential state of consciousness. And if you say there is consciousness, you feel there is consciousness, the experience, the existence is also felt. Now you see, it is both are the nature of Brahman. These two are not the qualities of Brahman. To know this, only by experience you can say that. If you have no experience, you may feel it is qualities. It is one quality of existence and another quality of consciousness. So we take beyond that the potential state of that, potentiality of consciousness, and the existence give the potentiality stance. Okay? Now, these both are experienced in a blissful state. Why so? Because whenever we have the practice or experience of thoughtlessness, what we feel it as a bliss. In the dream you can't feel the bliss because there are thoughts. Good thought, bad thought, good dream, sweet dream and bad dream, all this. But in Sushupti, as an experiential example we can take, as there is no thoughts, but the existence and the state of consciousness is also there. The third state of consciousness. Both are there with complete relaxation, complete bliss. If you had a good sleep, you will also say, I was very, very, very good. I feel very good. And I experienced it, my state of bliss. And the same thing I will also repeat. Same thing all will repeat. And now if I ask, how much you experienced, how much was the bliss, how much was the happiness you experienced there, can you say that? You can measure it, you can compare it. Is that experience was comparable to the sweet you had the previous day? Can you compare it with any of the sensual experiences? You cannot. There is no comparison. It is unmeasurable, atulya, incredible. So now what you can do? You can only say it was something more than what I had experienced in my whole life. So there is nothing to compare with. So this is what the nature of Brahman. We say when we reach there, Ananta Adishayaha. Ananta is a Ananta Mimamsas there in Taittiriya and Brihadaranyaka. It is the highest, if you can say, the ultimate level of bliss. Only you can say that. That is, you are again adding and adjuncting the measurement there, because we are trying to adjust. So this is the beauty of the experience. One is existence is unconditioned, and the consciousness is without thoughts, and the bliss is without measurement. And one living being, as a human living being, we can say, we want all these three forever. We are living for that. We are trying for that. Our all day-to-day work, we are doing job, study, and all these things what we are using for this. All our effort, all life, we are trying to get all these three constantly and forever. You see? So this is the nature of Brahman. This is our own nature. When we say the nature of Brahman is nothing but our own nature. Because Brahman we use as all-pervading. In the cosmic level, the self in cosmic level is called Brahman. Microform and macroform. So here we say as self, as Jivatma, Jiva and all those, connecting with the body and mind. Other than that itself is Brahman. So now I will, with the last point, the experiential point with which we can clearly declare that only one existence is there. Only one Atma is there. See, if you say, yesterday I was happy, then I will definitely ask, how you was happy? What you had yesterday? So you may say, I saw something like this, some object, some flower or something, some beautiful things. I was very happy and I was excited to see that. This is what the normal thing we discuss, we always chat with. So you say something, I say something. Sometimes you say something bad, sometimes I say something good. So this conversation, interactions are there. So these interactions are with conditions. And it is very, very clear, whatever you experience in this level of consciousness, it means in Jagrat, the waking state, you need to say everything about it, then only I can guess what you have experienced. Even after you very elaborately establish it, I can't have the experience, and I cannot feel the experience. I have to again imagine and guess what you had. If I had something similar, then of course I can compare with that. Oh, it may be like that, like this. So I can compare. You know, all the comparisons are false. Because comparisons lose some part of the actual thing which is compared to. You can't have the real thing there. So, first state, the waking state says, the happiness or whatever you experience, we will ask and discuss, and you can't have the same thing. And after that, if the discussion, the conversation is not in a normal condition, it may end in quarrel and it may end in enmity also. Because we have different experiences. We argue with that. When somebody says, I had a sweet dream, the one friend says to another friend, the friend asks him or her, what you had? How was that? What was the sweet dream? Oh, it was very wonderful and all those things. She may be or he may be saying a lot of things about that. But again another friend will keep on asking, what you really had, how you had, and oh, it's wonderful. If I could also experience that, it is good. It means, in dream sleep, whatever we experience, we can't convey it to other person. We can't shift that to another person. And after a long discussion, long conversation, the other person will not get anything. He will be just imagine something. The real thing will go. If it cannot be converted or transmitted to another person. But this is all related to mind, because their objects are different, vasanas are different, thought processes are different, the previous experiences are different. Sometimes in the family, maybe for 20-30 years, the husband and wife live together. They are unable to understand each other's thoughts, process. They fail to understand. So we know that after many years they separate themselves. Divorce. Why? Because even after a long time living together very closely, you can't change or give your thoughts to others. Your thought process is always your thought process. Others can only imagine. In that imagination, in that guesswork, there may come many mistakes, many faults, many loopholes. That is why they fail. So now we take the dream and deep sleep. You see, after deep sleep, when we come out of deep sleep, we feel very fresh. The other person asks, how you slept? How you had the sleep? Oh, it was very good. It was sound sleep. Only with this word, the other person will get all the experiences you had. There is no other question, how you had the sound sleep, what was the experience of sound sleep? No other question, no discussion. No matter, there may be one word or two words, that I had a good sleep. So you see here, what is the point is here, when we have the same experience, there is no word pronounced, there is no need to pronounce the words to transmit that. It is the same. Like we had the same sweet in a party. When I say, oh, it was good. So you also feel that goodness. I also feel the same, because we had the same sweets. So we feel the same. So there is no question. In that case, the question is not asked. Because we had the same sweet, therefore there is no chance to ask, oh, the sweetness, how you had the sweetness? How you feel that? There is no question, because I also had the same sweet, you also had it. So what we should talk about? Only I express my feeling. I say, oh, it was good. So you also express the same, oh, it's good too. I also experience the same. So then the discussion is closed. There is no question, as in the dream or the thing. So what it does mean? Like the same seat was experienced by two persons or more than two, say the same thing, and there is no further discussion on the sweetness and the experiences. The reason is the sweet was the same. You got the point? The same thing you applied in the deep sleep also. Because you experienced what you experienced, the object was same to me. When I experienced the same. Therefore I have no chance to ask you how you experienced it. What you experienced? You only express your feeling, oh, I had a good sleep. I know what is goodness there. I know how the goodness felt it. Therefore, the Chandogya Upanishad says in Sadvidya, the 6th chapter, it says, the first part and second part of 6th chapter. Sayatha vyagro va simho va varago va kido va padango va masako va yadyad bhavanti tada bhavanti swam hi apido bhavati swapiditya chakshate. It says when we go to deep sleep, we experience the self there, the core existence there, our own core existence. Swam hi apido bhavati. Therefore it is called sopiti, it is called deep sleep. We are sleeping. We are not sleeping. We are experiencing ourselves there. We are not forgetting anything. We are not leaving anything. We are experiencing ourselves. And in that, it says further, in that there is no difference with the animals and human beings or whosoever is sleeping will get the same experience, same amount of joy, bliss there. Simhova, Vyagrova, let it be lion, let it be cheetah or whatever animals, even small insects. Kidova, Padankova, Mashakova, even bacteria, you bring bacteria, virus. Now we have coronavirus here. If it is also sleeping, if you get the chance to sleep, it will be getting the same experience as we have. You see? So now there is no chance of communication because there is no point of communication. Therefore, when the jnani gets this experience, he has no point of communication because he sees himself everywhere and he sees that everybody is experiencing the same thing as I experienced. What to talk, how to talk. So the maunam becomes the basic character of jnana. He may be talking something else to make his conversation. But there is no point of talking the Atma to others. Like the deep sleep, there is no point of talking deep sleep experience to others. It is waste. You see? So therefore, the Shastra says, Yato vajo nivartande aprahapya manasa saha na tatra jaktur gacchadi na vaggacchadi no manahana vitmaha na vijanimaha yadedhadanushishyad. It says clearly, we don't know how to teach this, how to explain this. We are unable to do that. Because there is nothing is connected there, and the experience is same, and you are also having the experience, I am also having the experience. Therefore, for a jnani, there is no ajnani. For a jnani, everybody is jnani. All beings, they are jnanis. Now, one jnani will not preach to other jnani, no. For jnani is everybody jnani. So you have to bring some ajnana there or something there, then only there is a chance to talk about that. Otherwise, no. So this is the ultimate experience of Jivan Mukta, because he got this point experience. And this experience, you see, this experience is not brought as the effect of sadhana. This experience is not brought up as the effect of sadhana. It was already there. Vimuktasya vimuchyate. Vipraptasya praptihi. You see, even in dream sleep experience, can we bring dream sleep experience with any sadhana, any means? Doing japa, dhyana, samadhi, something? We were studying scriptures. Nothing is applied there. Nothing is applicable there. Because it is the nature of the being itself. So this is what we could connect all these points. You can think about more, and next session maybe when we meet, if we have something more to discuss, we will discuss. So we conclude this with here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.